Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're taking a look at the Thermaltake View 380 TG ARGB. This is a dual tempered glass fish tank style case which supports both normal and also rear connect motherboards and comes in at a pretty decent price. Also comes included with 4 addressable RGB fans of 120mm with a RPM range between 300 and 1000 RPM, so very nice and quiet. And the dimensions come in at 410mm by 285mm by 442mm long. The case itself, without anything included, comes in at around about 7 kilos and has support for CPU coolers up to 160mm, VGA cards up to 415mm, and power supplies of up to 200mm in length. It also comes with a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C connector, a couple of USB 2.0s, and a pair of split HD audio jacks. So in today's video, I'm going to go through, do a little bit of a teardown, have a bit of a tour of the case so you can see what it's all about and see if it's going to be suitable for your next build. When it comes to pricing at the moment, not entirely sure. This is very new here in the United Kingdom. I believe it's already on sale in the USA and is somewhere in the region of around about $99. So if you take into account the exchange rate, this could end up being anywhere between £80 to £100. But there will be links in the video description for you to check out, some of which may be affiliated, so we may earn a small commission on any purchases made, but it all goes towards helping out the channel and won't cost you anything extra. Before we actually take a look at the case itself, let's take a look at some of the included accessories, such as there is a owner's guide which goes through in some depth, telling you where everything goes and how to assemble your PC. There's also an accessories bag which has got a BIOS speaker. These are really helpful, and if you're not too sure why, do check out the video in the links below. It is a really helpful thing for diagnosis purposes. You also get a bag of screws, some cable ties, and also some Velcro straps to aid with cable management. Now getting on to the case itself, so as you can tell, this is a fish tank style case. So we've got tempered glass on the front panel, tempered glass on the side stroke front, depending on how you actually mount your PC, and the rest of it is pretty much all perforated. That goes for the bottom, the top, and also the rear panel. So airflow shouldn't be a problem, even though it has got 2 sheets of tempered glass. Now to help with airflow, as I've already mentioned, there are 4 included ARGB fans. These have a rotational speed between 300 and 1000 RPM. So actually quite low RPM in terms of what modern fans can do, but they are very quiet. Unfortunately, they are on a DC 3-pin connection. Isn't a problem, you can still plug it into a PWM header and still have full control over the entire RPM range. When it comes to the addressable RGB, you're looking at a standard 3-pin 5V addressable RGB, all of which have pass-throughs, so you can daisy chain them to your heart's content. Also for the fans, there is actually a daisy chain included, so you can connect up all 4 fans if you want to into a single fan header. So if you've got a motherboard with limited fan header resources, don't worry, not a problem at all. The glass panels on here at the moment do appear to have a little bit of an opaque tint to them, but that is just where there is plastic protection on them. I've left that on there until after I've done the build, so they will be crystal clear when it's done. And actually, before we go on to actually taking the panels off, I should mention there's actually 4 colours of this available. So you've got the white, which we've got here, or snow as is otherwise known. There's also a black version. Also, it's in the new Hydrangea blue, which is to celebrate Thermaltake's 25th anniversary. And also currently there is a Matcha green. Potentially there may be other colours coming out in the future, but for now, those 4 are the ones we have to choose from. So let's start off with the side panel. Now when you get this actually out of the box, which I must say is packed absolutely brilliantly, really nice styrofoam in there, keeping everything nice and in place, no imperfections whatsoever. There is a very small screw in this glass panel in the middle, which you can gain access to by sliding off the top. You can choose to put that back in if you want to. If you're someone like me and you like to kind of tinker with your PC regularly or just like do some maintenance, it is a one-touch thing. So just clip on the side, pull that out, and the glass comes out. So you can remove the glass very easily. It's held in place by 2 little lugs at the bottom and the clips at the top. The plastic clips are in there, so that is going to hold the glass in place if you don't decide to install the screw. When it comes to the front piece, or the kind of side front piece, that one is actually held in with 2 screws, which I would suggest you do leave in because there isn't any of those plastic clips to hold it in place. But I think just having this being for easy access really does make things a little bit more helpful. So with the panel removed, we can see inside now, and one of the first things you'll notice is there's a lot of holes in there in terms of both perforations for airflow and also for mounting motherboards. So this supports both normal ATX, micro ATX and ITX motherboards, but also it supports the new range of rear connecting motherboards, such as MSI's Project Zero and also ASUS BTF. Quite a common thing that I get asked with these new cases which support both is, are you okay to use a normal ATX or micro ATX motherboard? Yep, it's absolutely fine. Doesn't change that in any way, shape or form. It just gives you the flexibility of if you want to get a BTF or Project Zero motherboard, you can install it and it's very easy to manage and also will make the inside look considerably tidier. Also, obviously inside we can see the 4 addressable RGB fans which are pre-installed, 120mm, 300 to 1000 RPM. Also something else which has been a complaint in the past of some cases is we do have full rubber grommet support. So 2 in the top, 2 down the side. So that is fantastic for cable management, keep things looking a little bit more tidy. There isn't any at the bottom, which I guess would have been nice to pass through, but depending on your setup, most people I think are going to add extra fans to this, such as 3 at the bottom here. So that is going to cover up some of the wiring. So yeah, that's absolutely fine. I should say as well, when it comes to the fans, so in terms of fan support, on the very back there, it supports a 120mm fan, which is obviously included. On the side here, it supports 3 120s, which are included. Also, you can install, if you want to, 280mm radiators or 240mm radiators, and also 140mm fans, of course, just 2 of them. So plenty of flexibility there. A 360mm radiator doesn't fit on the side if you're considering that, but you can put a 360mm radiator in this top section, which will also support 3 120mm fans. No support on the top section, unfortunately, for 140mm fans or 280mm radiators. And on the bottom, we've got the option of putting in 3 120mm fans. Again, same as the top, no options for 140s or 280s. They have said actually in the manual that you can put a 360mm radiator on the bottom. Realistically, if you're going to do that, that is going to be for custom water cooling. If you're going with a sealed loop or traditional style AIOs, then putting one on the bottom is probably not a great idea because the pump's going to be towards the top, which is really bad. You don't want to do that. So for custom cooling, you can put in a 360 in the top, you can put a 360 in the bottom, and possibly a 240, 280 on the side as well. So you can have a really elaborate water cooling system. But when it comes to AIOs, realistically, it's going to be up to a 280 on the side here and a 360 in the top. Another nice feature, which is often overlooked, is the fact that all of the motherboard standoffs are pre-installed for the ATX form factor, and also the center plug actually has a locating ring on it as well. So when you're installing your motherboard for the first time, that'll lock your motherboard into place so you know it's in exactly the right position. So I think that's pretty much it for this side. So let's turn this around a little bit and we can take a look at the kind of front or front side. So again, tempered glass panel there. You've got perforations all along here. Now this is going to be for the rear section. So this is going to allow airflow to either come in or to come out, depending if it's positive or negative pressure. And also there's a discrete Thermaltake logo in the bottom corner. Next, we'll take a look at the rear. So in the rear here, so this is our section for the 120mm fan. A little bit of adjustment up and down there, not a huge amount. Lots of perforations here. So if you're in a positive pressure environment, this is going to be great for pushing out some of that hotter air. Or perhaps if you've got an AIO in the top and it's a little bit negative pressured, then it can pull in some of the air through there. It's not going to be fully filtered, although it is a relatively tight mesh, so it will do a reasonable job of filtration, but not as good as a dedicated filter. If we move down a little bit more, so we've got our motherboard IO cutout here, and we've also got our ATX power supply cutout. So the power supply is mounted in the midpoint rather than being at the bottom. I personally prefer this because it allows you a little bit of flexibility for installing drives underneath, which we'll take a look at when we flip it around to the other side. Something which I think is a downside on this case, and it's probably one of those things which is either overhyped or overlooked, or just not really that relevant, but it is a nice to have. And that is the fact that the IO shields on the back are the ones that you have to fold out and break off, which are not replaceable. I think this is a really unfortunate thing, and I know it doesn't cost a great deal extra to add them, so I'm a little bit surprised at a case at this price point that they haven't put them in. Again, it's not the end of the world, and also you do get quite nice access. There is a thumb screw on the side, which for some reason isn't captive, so do be careful with that one. Then you've got the flip out cover, then you can gain access to the screws for your PCI Express ports. Next, we can move around to the back of the PC. So this is all ventilated all the way across. So again, it's actually a very tight mesh as well, so it's going to be a pretty decent air filter. Some of the really fine particles will make their way in, but overall I think this is a good design. And again, if you've got positive pressure, this is going to be great for just allowing some of that heat to dissipate, especially from the back of the motherboard around the VRM area, which is often a problematic section, especially if you've got a enclosed or a setup where just air can't flow particularly well in the back of the case. To remove the back, again, very similar to the front, so there is a little lever on the top, so just push that and you can lift it out of the ledge. So there is a ledge along this bottom section which rests on here, and in the top it's got these metal parts which lock in to the plastic lugs, very similar to the front. Whilst in here we can see what is going on in terms of cable management and wiring. So you can see the 3 fans there. So the 3 fans are actually in the kind of right orientation, so they're actually blowing inward. What Thermaltake have done actually, and you probably haven't noticed it, but I did when I was doing the sort of footage for this, is the fact that even though the fans on the back are showing off the frames, which isn't ideal, but certainly works, they've actually gone to the point of putting the Thermaltake badge actually on the back rather than the front where it would traditionally be. So it kind of looks like it's meant to be there. This is a really cheap and easy way of making a fan which is normally set for exhaust or a traditional airflow, making it look like it's a reverse fan when in reality it isn't. Of course, when it comes to the fans, if you're not entirely happy with these, and they are relatively good fans, but maybe you want something a little bit better and a little bit easier to use, you can always install the CT120EX range, the new ARGB versions. These are fantastic, a little bit more expensive. They are going to add some money to your build, but in terms of cable management, you've got 1 cable and you can link up to 3 fans together, so it will reduce a lot of your cable management. So going back to what is going on in the back here, so as you can see, you've got your pass-throughs and connections for the rear connection motherboards. You also got rubber grommets along the top there, so for passing cables through for maybe an AIO, top mounted fans, all that kind of thing, or possibly even things like the EPS connector for your motherboard. That's all great. Loads of tie down points as well, and places where you can put cable ties through, or of course use the included Velcro straps. You've got a bunch of wiring here, so unfortunately, as is the case with ARGB fans, for each fan you have a motherboard fan header, and also you have an ARGB connection, all of which are daisy chainable, and they are pretty much linked up already, ready to go, so you can plug those straight in. Like I said, if you want easier cable management, you can upgrade the fans. This is a very easy thing to do. Again, trying to keep costs down, so rather than daisy chaining all of them individually, so they've got this black cable here, so all the fans are plugged into there, so you can run them all straight off together should you wish to. If you want to run them separately, if you've got enough fan headers on the board, feel free to do that. The choice is entirely up to you. Moving down from there, so this is our hard drive rack and SSD rack. So for this you can install 2 SSDs and 1 3.5 inch drive. 2 SSDs go on this front section, so you see the 4 screw holes there, so 2 drives in there. But if you want to add a 3.5 inch drive, that goes behind, and you've got 3 screw holes there to screw down into the drive, and there's also 3 holes on the bottom as well. This cage can be removed in its entirety, just a couple of screws. So if you value the free space more than you value drive storage, you can take that out if you want. It's not structural, so again, the choice is entirely up to you. When it comes to wiring up the front panel, so all the cables nicely whited out pretty much entirely, other than the HD audio, which has got a little bit of ketchup and mustard on there. So let's quickly drill through what we've got here. So there is a USB 3.0. That is for your 2 Type A connections. Again, 2 cables in there, so that denotes 2 connections. And also there is a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C. So if your motherboard has a Type C port, which a lot of them are starting to have now, you can plug that in and get the faster transfers. Also, you've got a molded connector there, so that is for your front panel I/O. So that is going to be hard drive LED, power LED, reset button, power button, all done together on one molded plug. So no faffing around working out which one's which and which way round they go. Very straightforward. I like this, and it's nice to see Thermaltake adding it onto a lot more cases these days. And last of all, we've got the HD audio, which again is a little bit unfortunate that it's got a little bit of ketchup and mustard going on there, but realistically it's going to be in the bottom corner of your motherboard. You're never going to see it. Something else I liked on this as well is the fact that there is actually a lot of depth there as well. So if you wanted to maybe do some sort of AIO configuration or custom water cooling, then you have got the options of having the radiator mounted either behind or in front of the kind of wire mesh there. And it's also very open as well, so you can see the entire fan blades. There's no additional filtration on there or extra bits of metal blocking the airflow. So even though these are only up to 1000 RPM fans, because it's really clear, really open, and also far away from the back of the PC, those are going to pull in air very, very easily. So in the top section, again, you've got this really nice tight fine mesh, so this doubles up as a filter and also is structural. 2 thumb screws on the back. This time these are captive and there's a hand on the back, so just pull that backwards and you can remove it in its entirety. Held in with lugs in various places as well. That's really nice to see. And of course, like I said earlier, you can put 3 120mm fans in here, 360mm AIO, no problem at all. A little bit unfortunate, there is a bit of depth there, so potentially they could have added the option for 140mm fans in there. But I think realistically, for what this is, and for how popular 360mm radiators are on the market at present, I think they've made the right decision here, limiting it to either 3 120mm fans or a 360mm AIO. Or of course, a 240mm AIO, if you want to go down that route. Next, we can take a look at the front panel I/O. So we've got a power button, nice square clicky power button with LED around the outside. Also, there is another LED in there as well, so dual LEDs, one for power and one for hard drive activity. You've got your 2 type A ports, so USB 3.0, so 5 gigabit per second. Then you've got your split jacks for headset and microphone, or headphones and microphone. Then you've got a reset button, which is actually nicely recessed, so you don't accidentally press it when you're reaching up on top of your PC. And last of all, you've got your USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C port. And last but not least, let's take a look at the bottom. So you've got 4 feet, all with rubber dampeners on, and also there is a removable filter. So this is magnetic, just peel that off, nice and easy to do, and that reveals the section for the 3 120mm fans, or potentially a 360mm radiator. Not a good idea really, but potentially you can do. The only thing I would say with this is the porous nature of this actual section on here, and also the porous nature of the filter. It's basically circles on top of circles, so this filter is actually going to restrict a lot of airflow on the bottom, so you are going to want some pretty heavy duty fans in there to kind of overcome that. Or alternatively, like I've said lots of times before, when you've got a setup like this in these fish tank style cases and you've got the intake at the bottom, you can quite easily remove the filters. They're not really necessary unless you're in an extremely dusty environment. Physics wise, dust in the room has a weight to it, so the chances of the fans overcoming the kind of gravitational force, you're going to get dust come down here. It's unlikely to be pulled across 90 degrees underneath and then also another 90 degrees up through the fans. It's really unlikely that's going to happen unless it's exceptionally fine particles such as talcum powder, that kind of thing. Realistically, most of the airborne debris isn't going to get sucked back into the PC. So for me personally, I would say you're probably better off leaving this filter off and just putting it in your box for storage just in case you ever do decide to use it. So I think that's pretty much it for the Thermaltake View 380 TG ARGB dual TG fish tank style case. I gotta say, I really like this. Ultimately, I think it's going to come down to the pricing. At the moment on the PC market, there's a lot of cases all which do very similar things, and I've got other bits and pieces which make them more valuable than others, such as the inclusion of addressable RGB fans, the inclusion of USB Type-C connections, the inclusion of decent filtration, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it is going to come down to pricing. So at the moment, like I said, I do not know the exact pricing for this here in the United Kingdom. I have been told in the United States it's somewhere in the region of about $99 as their kind of initial retail price. As we know, the PC market is kind of tapering off a little bit. We are in summer or going into summer, and generally prices will drop a little bit. So I would personally like to see this come out here in the UK at somewhere in the region between 70 to 90 pounds, ideally closer to 70. I think that would be a really good, attractive price point and would generate a lot of interest, especially when you've got the kind of sibling to this, the Thermaltake View 270, which initially released at a kind of similar price point, but is now regularly available on the market for around about £60. So if you put that into context, the View 270, which is a very similar setup, £60. This, realistically, I don't think this has enough advantages over the View 270 to make it worth 20 to 30 to 40 pounds more, but certainly 20 pounds I think would be round about right. So if this was about 80 pounds on the UK market, I think they've got an absolute winner on their hands. At 100 pounds, I think you do have to start considering other options, and even from Thermaltake's own range, such as the Series 500, which is right about 100 pounds, which is an absolutely phenomenal case. As you can see, I've still got it there behind, although potentially I may be transferring all of that into this case because I actually do like the look of this and I think it might suit better. It's a little bit more compact as well, so if you find the Series 500 range a little bit too big and the Series 330 is a little bit too small, this might be in the kind of perfect zone. Anyway, I think I've waffled on way too much about this one. Please do let me know what you think about this one in the comments section below. I will try and do a follow-up video with the build in this at some point, so if you want to see how that goes, make sure you subscribe to the channel, click on the button, and also make sure that you activate notifications. That way you'll see videos in your feed on a daily basis. I think that's going to wrap this one up. I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.